History beckons the Macho Man. Ooh, yeah. Well, that wasn't a very good impression. I'm John Renton with every Macho Man Randy Savage WWE and WCW pay-per-view match ranked from worst to best. This will be part 1. 65 matches. Some of these will be easy to blitz through. Unjustifiably a position I'd rather not be in. The cream rises to the top, and all those cliches and all those great lines that he said. And man, Randy Savage is just a goddamn genius when it came to promos. And really, I love Randy Savage. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. One of my top 3 wrestlers ever. Bret Hart's number 1. Randy Savage, Eddie Guerrero. There you go. I mean, really, there's no better 3 people in my personal opinion as far as just in-ring talent, promos, and all that, and just physical charisma. And my God, I wish Randy Savage was still here. I do want to amend one thing. During my Ultimate Warrior rankings list that I did say that Randy Savage, the reason Randy Savage wasn't in the Hall of Fame was because Vince held a grudge. And I think Vince might have held a grudge, but also Randy Savage was very family-oriented. He wanted the entire Poffo family to be inducted. He didn't just want himself to be inducted, even though he was the bigger star. He wanted his dad, he wanted his brother, and that's fair. That's absolutely fair. And Vince didn't want to do that. WWE didn't want to do that. Somebody didn't want to do that. It was probably Vince. And Randy held out on that. And then eventually in 2015, Lanny relented and, said, yes, let's put Randy in the Hall of Fame. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. Randy should have been the one to go in solo, but it is what it is. I just wanted to address that. I do apologize for that. I don't remember the user's name to comment that. Thank you for pointing that out because you are correct. But anyway, with that being said, 65 matches. Yes, this is going to be a bit of a long, probably going to be a long 2-part series. It might end up being 3 parts. It depends because I might get very praiseworthy. But here we go with number 65 versus Ivan Putski, Wrestling Classic 1985, first round. This was the tournament where the winner would get a big push. The winner was JYD. Did he get a big push? Sort of. He pushed the coke up his goddamn nose, but you know what? Every wrestler had drug problems there. And yeah, I was surprised as anybody that Ivan Putski was still wrestling in 1985. It was short and there really isn't much of note. Speaking of, number 64, One Man Gang Mania 4, semifinal match. So by this point, Randy Savage had wrestled a couple matches in the famed and rather actually infamous WrestleMania 4 tournament, which, man, to crown a vacant or, a new WWE champion after the whole big event with Andre and Hogan. And how much did they, spend on the plastic surgery to screw me over? And that was a terrible Hogan impression. But, man, Hogan didn't like being screwed over after being champion for just over 4 years. But anyway, yeah, One Man Gang, I think it was like 2 minutes, maybe 2.5. He used Slick's cane. He hit another man from behind with another man's stick. And let me tell you right now, when you get another man's stick all over your neck and back, you made some bad life choices. Unless you're into that, especially on camera. But One Man Gang did that, caused a DQ, and Randy Savage would advance to face Ted DiBiase. I'll be talking about that match later. So we get to number 63 versus Greg Valentine, Mania 4 quarterfinal. Yeah, pretty much the same thing, copy and paste. These two could have had a pretty good match. It really just ended up being short. 62, yeah, Dynamite Kid, Wrestling Classic 85, semifinal match. Okay, so basically the winner of this would face JYD. And yeah, Dynamite Kid versus Randy Savage sounds pretty goddamn good, but I just want to say right now, though, Dynamite Kid was a great goddamn wrestler. He's a piece of shit for how he treated women and treated other people. And yeah, fuck the Dynamite Kid. I'm glad he's dead. Oh, God, he suffered that back injury and ended up in a wheelchair because of his hard style and the way he bumped and everything. Yeah, karma's a goddamn bitch. Maybe you don't want to do that to one, threaten to hurt or rather murder your girlfriend or wife. I forget exactly the relation, but yeah, he pretty much, was a goddamn piece of shit. So Mr. Billington was a fucking asshole. But yeah, it was short, and Randy Savage won to face JYD. 61 versus Butch Reed, Mania 4 first round match. And yeah, Butch Reed, it's a shame that Butch Reed wasn't the Intercontinental Champion, taking it from Ricky Steamboat, as rumor has it, back when Ricky Steamboat wanted to take some time away to spend, to watch his kid be born. You don't get a chance to see that. And, every day, and especially since I think that's his only kid. I don't think Steamboat has another child. And I mean, if he does, none of my business. But he wanted to do that. And Butch Reed wasn't there, or they felt that Butch Reed, wasn't ready, and they had Honky Tonk Man become Intercontinental Champion. That being said, the late, great Butch Reed was checked out by this point. Real shame, because Butch Reed in WWE could have meant a whole lot, and they dye his hair blonde and made him like Shelton, and it didn't really end up working. So number 60 versus Zodiac at Halloween Havoc 1995. Yes, Randy Savage versus Bruce the Barber Beefcakes. Oh, on the 50th gimmick by this point. He was, let's see, it wasn't a booty man yet. He was a man with no name. He was the Butcher. At one point, he was the Butcher. He butchered this friendship, and God, he had so many goddamn gimmicks, and none of them were good. I remember actually being blown away that he was a disciple. Like, back when I was younger, I had no idea that he was a disciple. And I go, holy shit, that's Bruce Beefcake. I can't believe it. Because he looked totally different. And also, he wore shades all the time. And Ultimate Warrior hung him upside down and, then did a whole One Warrior Nation thing. Get it? It's NWO backwards. Warrior was creative. Not by that point, at least. Yeah, this match, it was 95 seconds. It was Savage beating Zodiac, who had no business being in the goddamn ring. Just none. Nothing against Bruce Beefcake as a person, but just good God, that was not good. And then we get to number 50. I will get more positive here, believe it or not. Do not worry, but I had to, get some of that shit out. No, we get to number 59 versus Dusty SummerSlam 1990. Infamous match where Sapphire got bought by Ted DiBiase. He bought more black help. That certainly, was nice and, didn't have any overtones at all. And I'm not saying Ted DiBiase, but good God, Vince. White people owning black people, buying them. Good stuff. Really good stuff. 12 years of DiBiase. Virgil would turn on him soon after this and would have the best pop of his career, and pretty much one of the only pops of his career. But yeah, Sapphire. Sapphire character didn't really work out all that well, did she? So, but yeah, he beat Dusty within like 2.5 minutes because Dusty was distraught, got attacked, and then tried to make a comeback but got beat. Dusty's run in WWE, despite the fact that he was still over polka dots and the other stuff, but he made a lot of money, which is a good thing. Because with what they did with him, I don't understand how he didn't just fucking walk out. But he was able to get it over because he's Dusty Rhodes and he's sorely missed. So, number 58, JYD Wrestling Classic 85 Final. The best of the matches from the Wrestling Classic. I'm sorry, I just didn't. It was what it was. It wasn't like anything that spectacular because it was like 4.5, 5 minutes because these guys have wrestled a whole lot of matches already, and it's just, I think, like 3 each, and it was quick, and JYD won, and then would have to bow to Harley Race like about 1.5 years later. There's a lot of weird shit going on with black people having to bow and be subservient to white people in wrestling. Weird. So anyway, oh wait, I'm sorry. The match versus Ricky Steamboat, the Wrestling Classic 85 at number 57, was just a little bit better. Because it was a precursor for Steamboat and Savage to have their classic at WrestleMania 3. I wonder if you can guess where that match is ranked. Please don't spoil it in the comments. I mean, you can, but I'm not going to spoil it. You have to wait for part 2. That's how these things work. So, number 56, versus Piper, Great American Bash 98. 97 seconds. Savage had his knee. He actually tore his ACL Spring Stampede 98 against Sting, but kept wrestling because Savage was just that crazy. If you saw the biography that A&E did, he was really crazy, and it just confirmed stuff about the person where he was just a bit mental. Maybe he didn't treat women all that. God damn, it's really hard to hear this about your heroes. Really hard to hear that. But anyway, Piper didn't want to face him, but, Savage slapped him, and then I think Piper slapped on a figure 4 soon after because Savage would have to get major knee surgery. I mean, ACL attachment, I think reconstructive knee surgery. He would not wrestle all that much after this. He would wrestle a handful of matches. Like 97 seconds ago, Piper versus Savage. That would have been a whole lot better maybe like 5 years prior. Yeah, the last match, by the way. The last match that Randy Savage ever had in WCW versus Dennis Rodman, Road Wild 99. His last pay-per-view match was against Dennis fucking Rodman in 99. If that wasn't an indicator of what they thought of Randy Savage by that point, I don't know what is. To be fair, Randy did have the knee surgery. He had blown up to a spectacular degree. He was juicing like crazy. He wasn't the only wrestler. But goddamn, I mean, it was impossible to not notice. He had a whole lot of issues that were talked about in that documentary, by the way. The only reason I haven't reviewed the A&E documentaries, by the way, really quickly, is because none of the stuff came out where I was like, okay, I absolutely have to review this. I will say the Austin one's the weakest because it ignored the domestic violence stuff. The Piper one was pretty good. The Savage one was pretty good. The Piper one's probably the best, in my opinion. But yeah, you took on Dennis Rodman at Road Wild 99. You know, the worst Road Wild event, which, honestly, that's really hard to choose because none of those events are very good. But by this point in 99, the ratings were tanking, and they would really tank in September when Bischoff would get sent home, and then Vince Russo would come in a few weeks. Goddamn, Randy Savage will only make 2 more appearances in WCW after this. Infamous one, October 25th, 99, where him and Gorgeous George, the stripper, by the way, they do with the exotic dancer, sorry, she seems like a nice woman, and they were high on LSD or ecstasy, and then he would make an appearance being a referee, or something. He would make an appearance like in a battle royal, like, you know, and like be like a peacekeeper, and he would help the Millionaires Club, but his contract, I think his contract was up by that point. He just did a paid appearance. Yeah, that Dennis Rodman match, watch it. It's absolute shit. Really goddamn shit. I don't understand how the fuck they thought that match was a good idea. So anyway, let's get to Dennis Rodman. Randy Savage's career, all the iconic matches he had. Once against Warrior Hogan. Even once he had 2 years prior, the matches with DDP. Bad Knee or whatever. Dennis fucking Rodman. Anyway, at least he didn't face Karl Malone. But then again, Karl Malone wouldn't have faced Randy Savage because he was of legal age. And Karl Malone only goes after people that aren't of legal age. And yeah, the mailman. We know where where he was mailing his package. And oh boy, read up about Karl Malone. Piece of fucking shit that he is. Anyway, number 54 with Beefcake, Jake Roberts, Jim Duggan, and Steamboat versus Harley Race, Danny Davis, Hercules, he was Hercules Hernandez in Mid-South and World Class, but also Honky Tonk Man and Ron Bass. Survivor Series 87, great. Randy Savage and Honky Tonk were still having their feud. I think this was right after where Honky had shoved Elizabeth. And this was something, you know, that they pre-planned because, you know, nobody touched Elizabeth, or otherwise you'd have to deal with Randy and his craziness. But also, Steamboat and Savage just had their iconic match at WrestleMania 3. 8 months prior. And now they're on this team. It wasn't a bad match, but I couldn't ignore that. It's not the only time the rivals would team up. Goddamn. That was so fucking disappointing. It's not Savage's fault. You know, rest his soul, but just good lord. So we get to number 53 with the Canadian Earthquake, a.k.a. John Tenta, the late John Tenta. Cancer's a bitch. And Dino Bravo and Greg Valentine. Dino Bravo and Kerry Von Erich dying within a couple weeks of each other will always be very haunting. Versus Jim Duggan, Bret Hart, Garvin, and Hercules. Hercules got around with a lot of these tag teams. He was actually, I think by 88 he'd switched face. Early summer of 88. This was from Survivor Series of 89. It was fine. Randy was kind of on the downslide. Because think about it, he had that match, you know, where he'd had to carry Zeus, the late, Lister. Poor Mr. Lister. And no, it's not like Mr. but no. Tiny Lister, Tony Lister, just, you know, the guy from Friday and the president from the Fifth Element. I'll talk about that match here in a bit, but just a real shame. Really nice guy, apparently. But yeah, he was kind of on the downslide. Randy Savage was, after Hogan had pretty much cooled him off, because that's all Hogan fucking did. And it was a fine match, but it was another one of those multi-man matches. It had some good storytelling, but this one was more just a bunch of pieces thrown in. And then we get to number, 52. With Hogan, Hillbilly Jim, Hercules, and Coco Beware. My God, Hercules really just was Survivor Series royalty. Versus the Twin Towers, which were Akeem and the Big Boss Man. Haku, the Red Rooster. Yes, Terry Taylor, who may be a bit of a creep towards women, but my God, Terry Taylor, hell of a goddamn talent, that Red Rooster gimmick. Fucking hell. Ted DiBiase was the other guy. Survivor Series 88. Okay, the Mega Powers did not explode yet. They would explode later. Much later. Okay, maybe a few months later. This was good, though. Weird that Hillbilly Jim was still wrestling in 88. Because I know that he had an injury. He had some kind of leg injury, and I don't think he wrestled much past 90. But Hillbilly Jim, hell of a nice guy. Legend has it his Hall of Fame speech is still going on to this day. But it wasn't bad, just wasn't great. However, I don't know why I ranked this high. I probably should have ranked it lower. But number 51 versus George Steele Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania 2. Well, at least it wasn't the Piper Mr. T boxing match, but this was not good. Randy just won the Intercontinental Championship like a month prior, maybe 5 weeks prior, versus Tito Santana. Would go on to have a 13-month run. George, the Animal Steele, or George, I think it was just George Steele by this point, wanted at Elizabeth. Can you blame him? She's beautiful. Oh, and by the way, a little quick sidebar about Liz. And I'll probably mention this in part 2 and probably part 3 with how long this is going. Lex Luger fucking killed Miss Elizabeth. He at least helped contribute to it. I'm not saying she wasn't her own worst enemy in some cases, but she needed a guiding light and not a guy who, thankfully, karma caught up to him and now he can't fucking walk. And oh, it's such a shame. But anyway, yeah, that match with George Steele wasn't all that good. Sadly, not even, the 5th worst thing on the WrestleMania 2 show. God damn. So anyway, number 50, versus Nash, WCW title, Great American Bash 99. Sid returns, and this is when they were hot potatoing the WCW title around a whole bunch, and Sid would return, and yeah, we would just end up having a match at the next pay-per-view that was just fucking ridiculous. So yeah, the match with Nash was okay. Neither of these guys really could go in the ring anymore. Nash has admitted, in recent years, I think actually like even sometime last year, he had to have like major leg reconstruction. Like apparently like he had like massive displacement. That's hence the torn quads and why he couldn't move all that well. Imagine if he had had 2 good working legs. Hell, he would have been pretty goddamn good. That would have been something. This match, it was WCW in summer of 99 and it just wasn't good. It just wasn't. And sadly, I don't know why this match somehow managed to make it this far up. Number 49 with Sid versus Nash and Sting. Tag match for the WCW title at Bash at the Beach in 99. On the same show where the Junkyard match happened, and Finlay suffered a severe leg injury because you shouldn't be around a goddamn junkyard. Yes, it was a tag match where it was Sting and Nash teaming up against Sid and Savage. Nash's world title was on the line, but Sting could pin his tag partner to win. It made no sense. Why didn't you just make it a 4-way? Savage would end up winning, by the way, after Sid could have beaten Nash, but didn't. Savage hits a sky elbow, 1, 2, 3, and then would lose the title 24 hours later to Hulk Hogan because Hulk Hogan, of course, would do that. Fuck. Anyway, let's get to number 48. With Zeus versus Hogan and Beefcake, Steel Cage, no holds barred, the match, the movie. I've seen this. This is on YouTube. I don't know if it's on YouTube anymore. It was abysmal. Because, look, the whole concept of taking a character out of a movie and putting him in the ring was ridiculous. And nothing against Lister. He did what he could. He was a big guy. Achieved great success. I would say cult status in Hollywood. But it wasn't going to work by this point. And No Holds Barred was a pile of dookie. And yeah, the pay-per-view didn't do all that well. And putting Beefcake in the Steel Cage. Oh, wait, he would butcher the friendship years later. So, we then get number 47. With Sherry versus Dusty and Sapphire. Mania 6. Yeah, Miss Elizabeth returned and caused Sherry to lose. Sapphire got a win. This is Sherry's only wrestling appearance at a WrestleMania. How fucking sad is that? Now, she was in the AWA for a while, but still. They didn't have a women's match at Mania 3. They could have had one with the Jumping Bomb Angels and the Glamour Girls, but Fabulous Moolah screwed that up. And fuck Fabulous Moolah. I hope she's rotting in hell for the piece of shit trash twat that she was. I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. But Sherry should have had multiple Mania appearances in the ring, in my personal opinion, even though women's wrestling wasn't the focus, and Sherry was tougher than a lot of the guys, and she jobbed to Sapphire. It was a pop in Sherry's business, but still. And Sapphire, again, I've said it's like, God rest her soul, but just no, she should have not been in the ring. And it was an attraction match. It was what it was. And it was great to see Miss Elizabeth back because she looks fucking incredible. Then we get to number 46, Royal Rumble 1994. So he eliminated Jeff Jarrett and then got tossed out in a couple minutes. Pretty much it. Nothing really to say, though the whole Luger Brett finish was fucking hilarious, but Savage had nothing to do with that. And then we get number 45, Royal Rumble 1989. Savage accidentally gets eliminated, gets upset. He's the WWE champion at the time. They did not have him win the Royal Rumble. They had Big John Studd win it. And John Studd rode that momentum to being a guest referee with Jake the Snake Roberts versus Andre the Giant. I get it. John Studd would retire later that year due to injuries. But still, Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan would have like their disagreements and then lust in your eyes for Elizabeth. Yeah. Ugh. Gotta stop doing the Randy Savage voice. Just killing my voice here. But anyway, that's why it ranks a little bit higher. I'm going to put the 1991 up a little bit, just above it at number 44 for this reason. I think that Randy Savage had, a bit of a good run here. I like the fact that, him and Dusty continued their story and everything. Excuse me. And they did some really good stuff. Dusty and Macho really were, I don't want to say a match made in heaven, but they worked off of each other really well. Savage still had some stuff left in his career. And Dusty did some good stuff eliminating him. Here comes the Macho King! And Tony Schiavone basically did that, and it was fucking hilarious. Let's finish up the last few. So, number 43, Doomsday Cage Match. Dear fucking God, make it stop. Uncensored 96. Check out my retro review of that if you want to hear my full thoughts. But yeah, Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan in a three-tiered cage match in the entrance versus Luger, Z-Gangster, Lister coming back because they couldn't use Zeus. The Ultimate Solution that was once the final solution that was also Bane from the Batman and Robin movie. And yeah, they had Flair, Arn, Pillman was supposed to be part of it, but he wasn't. The Faces of Fear and Kevin Sullivan, and they had all these people, and it was goddamn shit. It was so fucking shit. It was so bad. Nobody cared. They would battle out to the cage, and then Luger stupidly clocked Flair with a really, really bad, stop. It's like, oh no, I'm supposed to hit him with a loaded glove, and oh, he ducked too soon, and oh, hell with it, I'll just hit him. And Luger returned face soon after that. But yeah, it was shit. Uncensored 96. Anyway, 42 versus Avalanche, uncensored 95. Hey, Earthquake versus Randy Savage. They had to call him Avalanche, and then they had to change that to the Shark. That's not much better. Still better than some of the Sharknado sequels. That's not saying much. It was a DQ match. It was uncensored 95. It wasn't the King of the Road match. At least there was that. But still, these guys, especially Avalanche, and I mean, bless him. John Tenth was such a nice guy, but it wasn't going to be very good. This is when WCW was still very cartoonish. And then we get to 41 with Flair versus Arn and Eddie. The Horseman antics, basically, it's the lethal lottery match. Slamboree 96. Mainly comical for the fact that Flair and Savage would continue their feud, and Savage was just a maniac that would just not stop going after people. And Savage and Eddie got caught in the crossfire, and that's basically it right there. The only reason I'm ranking this up there is it was short, and while it was a storyline match, it wasn't as offensive as some of the other stuff. But yeah, Arn would end up, DDTing his own partner and having Flair top him 1, 2, 3. So there we go. That's pretty much it. Number 40, with Zeus versus Hogan and Beefcake, SummerSlam 89. Okay, the Mega Powers have exploded, and Beefcake's in the main event. Yay! Beefcake being in another main event. Why the fuck was Beefcake in a goddamn main event? I will never know. It wasn't necessarily great. I wish that Randy Savage had retained the championship in Mania 5. Even if he had lost it on a Saturday night's main event or something, he should have had the championship for over a year. I would have had him hold 2 years, but no, he had to give it back to Hogan. Because I still think he could have done Savage and Warrior and push Hogan out of the spotlight. But no, at that point, actually, with the No Holds Barred movie and Vince still wanting to push Hogan, I get it. I just think that Savage could have been a long-term champion, and the fact that he was, basically always like, Hogan was just lurking behind his shoulder like, hey brother, hey brother, hey brother. Trying to do that. Why Savage was talking to himself, I don't know. The whole point of this is it was good. It was good for what it was. Zeus was a gimmick. He made his money. He also had a match in Puerto Rico against Abdul the Butcher. I'm telling you that because I'm not encouraging you to watch it, but if you watch it, it's as bad as you might think. It's from the Dying Puerto Rico promotion, which kind of makes sense because Carlos Colon and Jose Gonzalez will hopefully die for what they did to Bruiser Brody. Ending on that, yeah, the match, it was okay. I mean, it wasn't as good as the previous year's main event, where Miss Elizabeth showed off her ass. That was good shit. So obviously, given the fact that I ranted a whole bunch there, I'm going to be doing a part 2 and likely a part 3. Excuse me, I have 39 more matches to talk about since I put the notes over there. And that's going to be it. Anyway, agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rethlin. I'll see you soon.